Hello, everybody. Welcome, welcome. How are you? Good afternoon, good morning, evening. Where are you in the world? Please say hello in the chat so we can tell how many souls and from where we are here. Thank you for coming. Is this your first time? If you don't mind saying it so I know. Hello, Jane. Good to have you. Welcome. I love to see where you are coming from as well, so we get to activate this grid across the planet. Hi, Jane. Yes, awesome. From the Midwest in the US. I am right now in the eastern side of the US in Pennsylvania, near Philadelphia and New York. So good. Who else is here for the first time? Hmm? We've been doing these lucid dreaming sessions for a few months now. I'm going to say about 4 months. And my intention is to continue doing them monthly so we can continue the practice together. And if this is your first time, it's okay too. We are going to find out more about it. If you have any questions, please bring them in. It's a shared practice, so we get to share content and also we get to ask questions from the practice itself, and then we might be able to practice one or two techniques. Not that we're going to fall asleep right now, but we can practice as if we were about to. And then that's also how to get used to these techniques themselves. Some sessions run about an hour and 15. Today I intend to keep the session to an hour long, just so you can plan your time. Oh, yay, Jane. Thank you so much. Did you come for the meditation in the morning? Yeah, that's a big announcement I have for this group because they don't know some of them that I'm doing that new space in the mornings. That was so fun, right? It was great. Yeah, so if you don't mind saying hello, putting your name in the chat. My name is Diana. I was born in South America, Uruguay. I speak Spanish as my native language. Maybe you can tell by my accent. And I've been in the US for about 16 years. I love to hear from you in the chat because I want to make these sessions interactive. And unfortunately, since I don't get to see you, as if we were in a group call, I could see you. I work with people online and in person, and I get to see them and feel just by being in their presence if they're receiving and how. So I need to ask you to share so I get to know a little bit more about you. And I understand if this is not something you like to do or be comfortable and you just want to have my voice there and my presence, and I will relate some of what's happening in the chat. And if you want to interact, that's always way more fun. And it makes the session also more exciting for me, if you can imagine. Otherwise, it's a little bit of a monologue. So when I hear questions, comments, shared experiences, and we can reflect on them, it feels like a conversation, and it's really, for me, it's really rewarding. Yeah, and it makes the energy also grow because it's bi-directional. It's not just me pouring, it's both of us exchanging. Hi, Fleur. Welcome. Where are you in California? I love California. It's my home away from home. Hi, Claudia. Oh, great. I'm gonna be in Mexico soon, in about 2 weeks, 2 or 3, almost 3 weeks. Yeah, I love Mexico. Great, and Hawaii too, such a beautiful, powerful place. Another piece about knowing where we are coming from or tuning in from is that you can picture the grid that we are creating with our presence and our awareness, and that's a beautiful way to witness the power of these practices. I don't know exactly how many sessions you've participated here on Insight in general, and they're all a beautiful vehicle for connection and for honing a practice, for cultivating community, practicing, learning, connecting. And you can imagine that with our attention and our hearts, we light up the space that we are in right now, my home, my neighborhood, my community, and my country, even so. And so are you with your light and your attention and your heart wherever you are. And all of us interconnected create a grid. We raise the consciousness, we raise the awareness, we raise the heart center time that we get to spend together. So that's the intention behind my work and how I get to feel you and perceive that grid, imagine it, feel it. As we all know where we're coming from, you can actually picture it. Sometimes we have people from Australia, New Zealand, Europe. It's very beautiful to imagine that. Awesome. Santa Cruz in California. That's great. All right, my friends. So I'm going to ask you, in the same spirit of keeping this interactive, as I share a little bit about my experience with lucid dreaming and the content that I have for you today, I'm going to ask you to share your experiences. Even if it's first time, you can put a 1 there. Then if you are more experienced and you have some questions about it, let's say you started practicing and something came up, we can talk about that. And if you have a question related to specific use of healing, that's also another good thing to share and ask questions about, because my content will be based on the techniques, the practice itself, the what to do with it, how to do it, like where do we go and why. Yeah, the why and the what of lucid dreaming, besides the how, which are the techniques. And then within that why and where is where the potential for healing that we find within the process of lucid dreaming can emerge. And that is something that I'm very interested in, and part of this quote-unquote experiment that we're running on Insight Timer with this live community, of seeing how available can we make our lucid dreaming process for the healing purposes, and especially to heal trauma, to heal from emotion. I'm going to call it emotional alchemy. Yeah, because trauma is such a heavy word. So it might be caused for you, it might be caused from trauma, but it might be caused from something, an experience. Doesn't have to be traumatic. And perhaps it's an emotion that is bothering you, or you want to heal from or transmute. And we can use dreams and we can use lucid dreaming to do that. All right, so Claudia's a first timer. Yes, thank you, Jane. Yeah, that's something that I work with in my work with groups and individuals, because there's something about transformation, that the word transformation or healing, that again is pretty charged with concepts we have from before. We associate two different things. And alchemy, the association of alchemy, is the transmutation, that is a little different than transformation, because in the transmutation we get to keep some of the essence and we shift it, we shape shift it in a way, but we don't transform it into completely something new, completely different. And I like that. It has for me the root of accepting what is and keeping the wisdom without the charge. Yeah, so that's how we work with emotions. We're going to do that. Excellent. So Lorette is a perfect example here. Thank you for sharing, for your honesty and generosity to share. So would you please tell us briefly or expansively, as much as you want to share, how did you do between the first session where we started talking about these techniques and now? What did you find in your practice? Because that is for me the greatest insight, and I can see where are the gifts of the practice, what are you noticing, what is working, and where are the gaps or the blind spaces where we need more awareness, more information. And that helps me also refine the teaching, if that makes sense to you. So let's assume everybody else is new, but if you are not new, you can put a 2 in the chat if you've been in my sessions before. Oh, isn't that wonderful? So Lorette says that she started to practice after these live events, and now she's more aware of her dreams and finding that she's never alone. And that is really key in this process, because we receive guidance and support the whole time, all day, but also in the 1/3 of the day that we spend sleeping. And this is part of the technique, and the why that we do this is to open to receive guidance, even if it's from our own unconscious, even if we don't intend to connect with spiritual guides or ancestors or galactic beings or whoever else you want to connect with, you can connect with and receive guidance and support from your higher self and your unconscious. And then you realize, like Lorette, that she's never alone. That's beautiful. All right, so perfect. We're gonna do that. We're gonna discover our own energy here, how to tap into it and expand it. And that's the practice that I'm carrying every day at 6 in the morning, my time, Eastern Zone. I've been doing it this week and next week too. So that's another container for expansion of energy and grounding it in the body. I'll remind you of that before the end of the live. Hi, Amanda from Oregon. I love to see where you're from. Welcome, welcome. Okay, guys, let's formally begin the session, and I'm gonna invite you all to just center yourself for a moment in your heart, because we intend with these sessions to activate benevolent, supportive energy coming from Source to guide us in this practice. We are never alone, and we don't do this just from intellect, just from mind. We also do it from heart-centered wisdom. And as I transfer to you some technologies and information that are evidently intellectual, coming from research and books, know that some of what I transfer is also channeled and is coming from my own consciousness, connected to Source. And I intend that you receive it as such. So don't worry if some of the information slips through your mind. You are receiving it also from your heart, and being able to call it in and activate it in your own time when it's best for you. So let's begin by just sharing briefly. I'm not going to go in depth with these techniques. If you are interested, you can put it in the chat. I love more information on this, and I will create a mini course on this, because otherwise what I find is that I spend a lot of time repeating the techniques and the information, and then if you're coming back, you're a little bit bored with that. And also some of this can be found in books. But the brief on the techniques for lucid dreaming are based on dream recall. We have to practice to remember our dreams. Attending to dream signs. I'm gonna unpack each of them briefly, but I give you just the overview. The outline is how to lucid dream, where 1, we have to remember that we're dreaming. And we sleep for about 1/3 of our lives, and we dream for part of the night. Some of the cycles are non-dream sleep. This is how our brain processes and stays healthy. So for segments in the night that begin to increase over time, they might begin with 5-10 minutes, and then overnight we dream a little more in the next cycle, and then in the next cycle, and then in the next cycle. Cycles can be up to 1.5 hours long, and we may dream for 20 minutes, even a whole hour of some of those cycles. So because they repeat throughout the night, and it's almost like a recycling, we might not be aware of all the dreams that we had. So beginning by recalling even one dream, the easiest to remember, which will be the closest to wake-up time, you begin to cultivate the practice of acknowledging that you can remember, or believing. Some people believe they can't. Substances may be getting in the way. Caffeine, marijuana, alcohol, they interrupt some of the sleep cycles, so then you don't dream as much, or you don't recall as much. Not to say anything about the substances against them, just to say sometimes you have to measure how much caffeine or alcohol or some stimulants you have, because they are affecting your dream and sleep cycles. And also writing down. So how to dream recall is knowing that you can, paying attention to the cycles. So if you were to wake up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom, or put an alarm to wake up. Some people do that, especially in the practice of dream yoga. You will intentionally wake up to remember, was I dreaming? What was I dreaming? And besides bringing awareness and knowing that you can, the third step would be to write them down. Make short notes. Even if you don't want to write more than a word or two, and then as you wake up, you pull from that note making that you had into elaborating more and more. Initially, if you can remember one dream a night, that's perfect, because you cultivate this awareness, confidence, and the practice itself. The other one would be the intent. That's very important. So as you fall asleep, you want to intend to recall your dreams, intend to lucid dream. You can program yourself this way. I will guide you to Stephen LaBerge, Laberge, which is an expert in this field. And they actually proved it in the lab. They put people in a lab and they showed techniques, shared techniques, and then they could recall and they could communicate from the dream to the lab researchers through hand signs and blinks in their brain, if you will. So they would say, as I lucid dream and I become lucid in my dream, I will make a fist. So they could observe the fist when they were awake. What would a fist say? Representing the brain activation. They would see that in a brain scan. And then they could see the person sleeping. Same thing in the brain scan. So they got to really prove that this is possible. Not only becoming lucid, but also communicating specific messages from the lucidity of the dream to the people awake. So look up that research, and in that book of lucid dreaming techniques, there's specific words that you can use to intend to lucid dream. Yeah, it's very nice. It's almost like a programming you can do. And you can intend to become lucid. You can intend to remember the dreams. You can intend to work through challenging emotions, and this will come back to later in the live session, because that's the purpose that I'm most interested in. Because lucid dreaming can be really fun to get to do things like flying or going to remote places or experiencing different dimensions. And if we can use it to relive or replay or heal or alchemize emotion that is troubling us, that is difficult in awake times, I think that's a very good use of it for healing. So you can imagine yourself right now about to fall asleep, and you go through your bedtime routine. As you're falling to sleep, you can put your hands in a specific way. I like to put my hands like this because then it becomes an anchor for my attention. And every time I do this, I am thinking or feeling the intention, because it's a priming mechanism. So I put my hands like this and I program myself to intend. I intend today, tonight, I'm going to safely lucid dream. I will remember my dreams. And I intend this dream to support my consciousness expansion and healing. And you can fill in the blanks with your own intention. Right now, I'm not using them for healing emotions because I don't have that need at the moment. But if I was, I would say, I intend in my dreams to experience this, let's say, anger that I'm feeling during the day and safely process it. Okay? That's part of the how, is a clean, clear intention from your highest good. So you know that it's for your evolution, for your healing. At that point, also in the how, is useful if you want to protect yourself, to give yourself the command or the reassurance that you are safe. So you can also intend to stay safe. You can surround yourself with a shield or a cloak of protection. You can imagine yourself enwrapped in a bubble of light, blue or white, whatever fits your belief system. And the point of that is because we know that in the dream life we are safe. We know for a fact that even if you're dreaming with your worst fear, nightmare, monster, you can be hurt, you can die in your dream, even if you were, let's say, in an intergalactic battle, right? Let's say you like astral traveling and you like to go places, you can be hurt. But our logical mind needs to know that. So as you program yourself and intend to safely go into your dream life with the purpose of healing or experiencing your fear, your emotion, your trauma, you can also tell yourself that as I do this, I am safe, I am protected in this body, in my astral body, in my heart. I don't consent to any energy or entity that is not for my highest good to even see me or interact with me. Those are words that are coming out that I use for myself, and you can choose your own words. The point is to surround yourself with protection so you feel safe to go into that space, knowing that you are always safe as you go into that space. Okay? So that's part of the how. Let me read the chat for a minute. Hi, Sunshine. So great to have you again. Perfect. So Amanda is posing a great question, and thank you for that. This is exactly what allows me to better serve you, because otherwise I would be just sharing techniques and not knowing where are the challenges. So let's look at this. Amanda says, I've been practicing and keeping a journal for months. Perfect. And I'm caught just on the verge of lucidity and pre-lucid dreams. Wonderful. So you're at the gate. And the gate is a very big, beautiful place to be. It's very special because you can feel it, right? So let's talk about a little bit about dream signs and utilizing them and utilizing your own body to take you from the gate or from that pre-lucidity phase to lucidity itself. So one way that is very common that we use a lot is to, let's say you're already intended, you feel protected, you feel safe, and you're in that threshold where you're about to fall asleep or falling asleep, and you want to catch lucidity. There are some very common themes that we've talked about before, like practicing looking at your hands during the day, but those work when you're already in the dream. Let's say you're not sure if you're dreaming or not. Well, if you look at your hands often during the day, you can remember that during the dream. But that's more advanced in a way because you have to already be dreaming and already have the question, am I dreaming? Which is the question we activate every time we look at the hands. But that moment pre-lucid, that almost like you're about to fall asleep or falling asleep or entering the dream, you can imagine that there's a rope. Yeah, it's almost like a swinging rope in front of you. You can visualize as you're getting, what's the word, drowsy, right? Like you're fuzzy and you feel like you're falling asleep. You bring into your mind's eye this rope, and it's like an etheric rope. It's something that is in the astral plane. It's not a real rope. It's in your mind's eye. And you can practice to grab onto the rope and let the rope pull you and take you into that astral space. And it could be a nice way to engage yourself into astral traveling, which is it's like a side door to lucid dreaming. Okay? That is if you find yourself always getting close but not fully getting lucid. Now, let's say you're dreaming already, and you can train yourself during the day to pay attention to 2 or 3 things. And as you pay attention to those 2 or 3 things during the night, you will also be able to catch yourself dreaming and realize, I'm dreaming. So these 3 main things that work for most people are hands. They're looking at the hands and asking, am I dreaming? During the day. Yeah. Am I dreaming? Pinching yourself. Oh, I'm not dreaming. Feels like reality. Very common, very repeated over the literature. Then devices. So you can catch yourself during the day often looking at clocks and machines and things that give you, say, the time of the day, and then you look twice, 3, 4 times, and they're tracking. In the dream, they don't track. That your dream reality cannot maintain that, so you won't be able to see the time go forward in the same way. You may look at the device at the clock and it's 3:33, and then you look again and it's 5:24, right? So you know, oh, that's a sign. You can intentionally look at yourself in glimpses in mirrors and windows and reflections, and that is very sustained and reliable in reality, but not in dream reality. Yeah, our consciousness cannot do that. And then you can also look for familiar landscapes, and this is connected to dream recall. So if you recall your dreams and you realize, I come often to this place, but it's not a place from your reality, your home or where you're usually at, you realize, oh, this is a dream landscape. Some of us dream indoors and outdoors. Some people dream mainly indoors. Some people dream mainly in color or in black and white. So that's how you realize, oh, I'm dreaming, because you begin to notice familiar landscapes and familiar situations and surroundings. Also, to notice the characters in the dream. And you may find, for example, that you're dreaming with specific people or a celebrity or a guru or spiritual teacher, right? So in that sense, you realize that this is a dream because this is not from your familiar reality either. I tend to dream with repeated characters. So then I realize, oh, that is part of my dream life. You can try the same for yourself. Just begin to note the characters in your dream. And we can talk about who are they. They might be versions of yourself or you giving yourself a message. But in any case, they are clear signs that you're dreaming. Okay? Yes, absolutely. You can dream of strangers. You can dream of people from the past. You can dream of people that you don't know at all. You can dream of your ancestors that you haven't met. There's infinite possibilities, because dream life is a combination of desires, projections, could be memories from the day, could be things that are about to happen. So that the material of the dream itself is very rich. And even though there are certain archetypes, and we know that this is the case because it's well documented that a lot of people dream with specific themes, there's also the juicy and unknown mysterious collective consciousness where there's a lot of new information. So you may be dreaming with a stranger, of course, yeah. Especially if you don't know that person yet or it's not in your familiar life, I would say make a note and see if it returns, and make a note and see if it looks like the characteristics of somebody that you know, though it might look different in the way that they present themselves. Okay. I don't know exactly how you would know them, except by repetition and by asking more into that. But that's also takes me into the next piece, which is the where do we go and why do we go, right? So again, intention is very crucial at this point. Where do we want to go and why do we want to go there? So let's say that you are working with emotions. Let's just go into the content that is most beneficial for us. So let's say you are experiencing an emotion during the day. Maybe you can bring it now to your mind. So you relate to it as you receive the content. Let's say you're experiencing an emotion that is a little bit challenging for you. Could be that you get tired often and depleted, so you're in apathy. Could be that you are perhaps sad often or grief. Could be that you get angry and rage. or some situation during the day triggers in you pride or the sense of righteousness, and it's an emotion that it doesn't feel supportive of your highest intention. So you clarify one emotion that you want to work with for your own healing. Could be caused by trauma or by an experience or not. And then as you intend, as you make your intentions, like we said earlier in the session, you also clarify to yourself, you program your intent that you are going to safely re-experience this emotion in your dream. So you will go where your higher self, your divine intelligence can take you to experience this emotion and safely process it with awareness, with acceptance, to alchemize it into whichever emotion supports your highest good, your healing. Okay? So it would look, for example, like this. And you can use the words transmute, alchemize. If you know which emotion you seek, then you can use that as well in this intent. So let's take an example. Let's say you're working with grief because your mom or dad or close family member passed away, say last year, and you were caring for them and you're holding on to some of that grief. And you know that on the other side of grief, for example, could be acceptance and connection and love and being able to receive messages, for example, from them or feel their presence, right? So this person left physical body, you were honored but also challenged with being there, and now you're holding on to the grief of the loss. And on the other side of that could be the acceptance of their passing and the receiving of their support across dimensions and even perhaps message or support or love that we know is possible, right? So you know you have a template here. Sometimes you don't know in which emotion you want to transmute it to, but sometimes you know. So if you do know, you make that part of the intention as you go to bed. And you will protect yourself and you will intend that you can safely experience this emotion in your dream life, processing it, transmuting it to access more of the positive emotion, acceptance, and so on. Makes sense? And in this beautiful process, because it could be, there's much beauty here if you can look at the pieces, right? Because you are allowing yourself to believe and surrender to the fact that your intention commands reality. Yeah, let's say that again. Your intention, your words, your energy, your attention creates reality for you. So you go from scrolling or reading or spacing out or watching TV to taking that moment pre-sleep to use the power of your intention and your words, your declaration, your invocation to affect the reality of your dream. You could use a recorded transmission or a guided meditation. If that helps you, you can record your own voice if you need to have it be played from outside to accept it and surrender to it. And at some point you realize you don't even need that, and you can just use your voice and your own internal voice. It doesn't even have to be said out loud. And your higher self, your consciousness will follow that. It's the same mechanism, guys, as when you say, I got this, and you get excited, or when you doubt yourself and you say, I don't know if I can do it. Do I do it? Do I do it? And you go into self-doubt. Same process, right? You have a command center that is in your brain, and thought center, and a feeling center that is in your heart, and they work together. And then your body kind of follows. Your body follows the mind, your body follows the heart. But if you're not clear or incoherent between the intention, the thought, and the feeling that you put behind it, there's an incongruence there. There's almost like a distortion or noise. So the signal isn't clear, it cannot be received clearly, it cannot be expressed, manifested clearly. Same for the creative process. But in this case, we're using that awareness to clarify what do we do as we let ourselves go into that very vulnerable space of dream life. It could be a very juicy place to create from and to access more of our divine self. I'm gonna read Rose's comment, okay? So we can share it, we can work with it. Rose says, I've been trying to intend not to dream travel to other people's dreams and not to dream into other lifetimes. I intend specific for what can help me now to meet ancestors, higher self, and that's just not happening. Been working with dreams for years. In the past, I was coming lucid and getting guidance and coming into the in-between place and getting more useful pieces. Now seems erratic and random. Thank you for sharing that. The first thing that comes to me is I wonder, what are you consuming during the day? Can you share a little more? Would you be okay to share? And the differences between back in the day when this was easier for you and now. And when I say consuming, I'm not just talking about coffee or food, I'm talking about information. And not only information that we receive through our devices, but also the people around us, because your environment supports your beliefs and supports your behaviors. So let's say in the past you were more supported by people or environment that were agreeing with these practices, or perhaps alone but coherently, doing things that were conducive to it, or having that environment be supportive. And let's say you switched into an environment that is more neutral or more negative, unsupportive of those beliefs and practices, it will make a difference. In the same way that when you have a belief, you're programming your cell and into expression, or the gene into expression, your external environment, including friends, including lack of supported friends, will make a difference. Yeah, even just having enough doubt or incoherence or randomness around you will create the environment also for your body. Yeah. Anything else? Since we took a little break from content to answer questions, if you have a question or something about what I just shared content-wise, because we talked a little bit about how to work with, say, one emotion, and I'm going to give you another good piece right now about that. Anything else? All right, so if you want to, you can type it in the chat and I will be able to answer it in just a moment as I give you the next piece of information, okay? So I want to share with you, and some of you might be familiar with this. Have you ever seen this? Can you see it can you see it straight, or does it show upside down? Sometimes it flips with the, sorry Jane. You can see it, can you see it straight? Can you read it? Or does it flip to the side? So you see it in the reverse. This is the map of consciousness developed by David Hawkins. You can find it easily online. We're going to work a little bit with this grid. Oh, perfect. Thank you, Brooke. Okay, so take a moment to see this and find yourself. I'm going to put it bigger so you can see it. Find yourself in the grid. Find your emotion here, looking here. If you were to place yourself in one of these emotions, the ones that you experience most frequently, and you can type it if you want to, so we see where we're at as a collective, or you can just know, because we're going to use this for the next piece of the live session to work with it. Okay, so for now, don't worry so much about the other piece. I'm going to just make it make it here easily for you, so you have less information to work with. So it's your level of consciousness, the energetic vibrational frequency, and then the predominant emotional state, and how do you see life. So I'm gonna pull one example since nobody's writing in the chat, but if you wanted to write in the chat would be great, because we can make it more practical and more precise for the whole, right, for the community. So let's say right now you're sometimes, oh, perfect, thank you, Richard. Rose is coming back. Let's see. Okay, yeah, this is huge. All right, so of course, and honoring your spiritual path, because our spiritual path, our own vessel, will define reality, right? For sure. If you're not aware, you will be unconscious. And at the same time, the more aware we become, the more we can curate our environment. So let's make that clearer. Let's say you want to follow a spiritual path, but you would be consuming information, say news, all day, or you would be letting negative influences nearby from people or neighbors or friends or family members. Not that you have to cut with everybody, you have to create a strong boundary and not let that affect you. Does it make sense? The coherence between intention and motion, between thought and feeling and behavior, will reflect also the chaos that you allow around you. Because if you're in a more peaceful environment, it becomes very clear where the dissonance is. And if you're in a chaotic environment, it's much harder to pick up the signal in the middle of the noise. Make sense? So I ask you that you ask yourself in a quiet space, how strong do you feel in your personal power to create a strong energetic boundary around yourself, so none of that which doesn't support your highest good can penetrate. And what could happen is that you begin to see behaviors that don't make any sense to just not be appealing anymore, or you will see the pull and notice the addiction, and there's something you have to work with. Same with people. Friends may fall off, or family members may come and ask you for guidance and help, where before, because you weren't so clear in your power, you would either attract people that were also in similar behaviors, and then both of you kind of stay in that circle of complaining, blaming, and forgiveness, or you would just repel and not be able to really connect from full unconditional love with people that are not in the spiritual path. And as you just center around yourself in that expansion of the clarity and the power and grounding that energy in your body, you can also have a more clear relationship with the people around you, and they may come and ask you for support if you are moving from a place of unconditional love. I hope that's helpful. I hope that makes sense. Yeah. And the spiritual path is an endless path. It's a lifestyle. It's not that we're going to get anywhere, right? It's being here and being aware of what keeps coming up and how to continue processing it. And also noticing that it's ups and downs, and sometimes it's backwards or zigzags, and it's not really linear. So more and more and more we get to just fully accept what's coming up. Thank you, Richard. right, dears. As they continue sharing, and I'm all in for you guys sharing in the chat and supporting one another. Let's unpack together this piece about the emotions, okay? So let's pick one emotion from the chart. And Richard just said, and I loved it, reasoning, right? So reasoning, though it's really good because reason is in the middle of the chart. It's about 400 in the potential 1000, right, of energetic vibration. It's a step below that reasoning, that love, that understanding is a step below love and reverence, right? So it's a place of everything in life makes sense. There's understanding, there's acceptance, right? And I love, Richard, that you share that. Now, can you share with us, can you share also, when you fall below there, ideally we keep climbing up, right? We experience reason and understanding, and then love and reverence, and then at some point joy and peace and bliss. And in your case, Richard, just because you're so kind to put your emotion there so we can use it as an example, that's a good place to be, and it can only get better from there. Would you say that at some point you fall below and you go somewhere else in the chart that is below? So that would be what I call a challenging emotion that you can work with, because in a way that challenging emotion, if it's anything from the list below or similar to the list, but this is just a guidance, it would stop you from continue ascending. Makes sense? Because it's almost like you're in your space of understanding and you have a couple little rocks in your bag, right? And those are holding you down, right? Perhaps it's just a matter of time and practice. Eventually you might experience, let's say, glimpses of a higher level of consciousness, glimpses of peace and enlightenment. But most times they're not, at least in this day and age. I notice a lot of us experience glimpses of the lower level emotions, the ones that pull us down, right? The ones that don't allow us to continue evolving, ascending, expanding. So I don't know if you want to share it, but I'm going to take as an example. Let's say Richard spends, or imaginary person spends a lot of time in reasoning, understanding, and meaningful connections and meaningful experience, meaningful work, right? Life is happening for me, right? Everything has a purpose. And then for some reason there's a couple situations or something happens, or a person or something happens that brings that reasoning into, say, neutrality. So there's something that happens, we can call it a trigger event, and that understanding becomes trust. So I trust that everything is good, but I'm not fully making meaning in it, right? It's almost like a step below. I'm not really fully seeing it. I just trust that it's for my greatest good, so I'm going to accept it, right? It's more neutral. Can you feel the difference in vibration? And then let's say that another event happens, there's another trigger, and then this person, this imaginary person, feels a little pride because they know that they can trust. They know that everything makes sense. And say the person comes, friend or family member, coworker comes with an issue, and they don't get it, right? They don't get it. How come they don't get it? That they need to trust. So we become, and it's lovely in the chart, this is pretty accurate, right? We become demanding. When something before we were satisfied because we felt the trust, we felt the faith, and in a higher level of emotion, we saw the meaning of it. In this case, we don't see the meaning in that coworker asking for something that we know they could trust, that family member, that friend of ours, and we become demanding, we become pushy that they should get this, right? So suddenly we fell from 400 to 175, and we go from understanding to scorn, right? So that would be an emotion that we don't experience all the time, but here and there we experience it, and it's stopping us from continue to ascend and elevating us. Of course, we can make this more black and white. We could say the person experiences guilt or shame, right? Those are the very low end, but it would be unlikely that somebody that spends a whole time here in reason and understanding will go so low, right? Will experience such low frequency emotions, but it could happen. So in any case, you have two things you can do. One of them is awake, and one of them is in the dream state or about. There's many things you can do, but I want to share a couple today. Let's say it that way. So one thing you can do is to center yourself in the experience of that emotion as you're experiencing it. And you know that you can transmute it, right? So you can ask your higher self in awareness, let's say meditation or a state of connection. You can ask, what are you here to teach me? Right? That is a really great question. Like, who does this belong to? Because it could even be that that emotion is not even yours. Could be that the emotion is from the person themselves and you're experiencing it. Or could be yours and is a teacher. Every emotion has a charge and has wisdom attached to it. The charge is what you get to feel, right? The sensation. And the wisdom is the why do we experience emotions as humans, right? Earth is a school and we're here to learn, and emotions are teaching us about ourselves in relation to others. So maybe that emotion is here to teach you something. So if you want to work with it in your awake time, that's a great entry point. Another great entry point is to question yourself if it's true. Is this true? Is it real? Like, am I really experiencing this, or am I just picking it up, making it up, projecting it, perceiving in a distorted way? And if you want to, you can use that same clarity or inquiry as you go into your dream life and using the dreams to facilitate the environment for you to experience that again and process it in a healthy way, transmute it, alchemize it. So you can replay, if you want to, that moment where the trigger happened and ask yourself to process it, to be able to respond instead of react, to be able to have access to that reasoning, to that understanding, as you let that pride or that neutrality come through you, or that negative emotion come through you, right? So not avoiding it, not rejecting it, almost as if you think of it as a waterfall that is, the field is constantly moving, right? So it's constantly changing, and in that case, this emotion is like a sheet of water, and you get to come through it. And as you come through it, it will soak you. It will really soak you. But you don't have to stay there under the water, letting it rush over you and hit you all the time. You can just come through it and come change through the other side, right? But that courage, that moment where you have to step through you, is something that if you have the tools, if you feel safe to do it during the day as you're awake, you can definitely process it during the day, alchemize it, keep the wisdom, keep the knowledge, the lesson, and leave the charge behind, right? And you can also allow your dreams to process it, to create the context, to create the environment. That emotion may show up in different ways. It could be the exact situation, the coworker, the family member, the friend. You relive it as it was. Or you might just make it up. in the magical way that the dreams work sometimes. I want to share with you also why do I feel that this has great potential, and where does it come from. So some of you that were in my lives before heard me talk about this, so forgive me for repeating. As I was working on my course for better sleep that I have on my page, it's called Wonderful Sleep, 10 Days to Self-Nurturing, and it's a beautiful labor of love that I created to help my daughter sleep better. And also, as I found techniques and meditations and practices that help her sleep more, I realized I could put together this for more people. And I was researching a lot about sleep, and I was researching the best practices and the dreams and everything related to it. There seems to be a big sleep research explosion around 2017, 18, something like that. So I had stacks of books this big, and 40 of them. And there was one that really caught my eye, and that was the research of a doctor called Rosalind Cartwright. And she was working with people that had clinically depressed symptoms and diagnoses. So she took these people that were clinically depressed, going through severe breakup or trauma, over a 12-month study where they were monitoring their dreams and keeping dream journals, and then studying them again at the end of the process. And what they found is that those that were able to dream with the troublesome emotions that were creating the depression, and they were able to dream about those emotions, with those emotions, process them in their dream life, at the end of the study were not clinically depressed anymore. Compared with the other participants that were not able to dream with these emotions, and maybe dreaming randomly or not dreaming or not remembering, and they were still clinically depressed at the end of the year. Granted, maybe there's something else at work, some other factors, but the one consistent factor among all the study participants was that they could effectively use their dreams to process those emotions. So that's what got me started in this line of work with you guys and some of my clients, in combination with the best sleep practices, because if you can't fall asleep easily or you have trouble staying asleep, of course you have something else to do first, which is make sure that you're getting proper sleep and good restful sleep. And once we create that space for sleep, well, what do we do with it? Right? It makes no sense that we spend a third of our lives sleeping and we can't access what's there from our psychic point of view or emotional point of view. And I know a lot of it is already happening and we don't have to worry about it. Our brain is doing some of the work. It's processing, is filtering memories, filing things away, regenerating tissue, and there's all sort of beautiful processes that happen, amazing body processes. And at the same time, because I know at the core the emotions are key to heal ourselves, mind, body, right? The processing of the emotions in the day may not be enough because we have so many defense mechanisms against going there where it could hurt. So that got me thinking, well, can we do something with the sleep? And then I came across this research and I thought it was fascinating because it's proof, right? It's proof that there's something else that we can access. So I invite you to play with this if you're interested as you're experiencing it. So not next week, not next month. If something came up today and you've experienced that emotion today, today's the day to intend to use the practices. Even if you're not saying, oh, I'm a lucid dreamer, it might be that you don't become lucid in the dream, but you're still dreaming about them, right? Becoming lucid is the next step because you could actually change, you alter, you instruct yourself to change things when you're lucid. And a lot of us, it takes a lot of practice. I've been working with my dreams since I'm 18 and I don't lucid dream every single day, but more often as I practice more and more. So lucid dreaming in itself is a vehicle, is the dreaming, intentional dreaming, a step before lucid dreaming that we can all practice even at the intention level, and then let your body do its work. Okay? Let's see, I'm gonna read the chat a little bit. I love that. Great. So see, Richard, thank you for sharing that, because love is the next one, right? So you're moving up in your ascension process. Ascension is nothing else than knowing that we're here now, because it's always different. So we might ascend in realizing, oh, we're falling down, and then we can continue, right? Ascending is that awareness, is that noticing. So love is 500, right? It's just the next upgrade for you. I love it. Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing. Okay, Karen has a really good tip for everybody here. I noticed that too. I noticed that when I am in life and life is happening for me and I'm connected to life as is, instead of me wanting to make life happen or victimizing, right? When I am really in presence that life is through me, then I almost forget the phone sometimes. I leave it behind. I'm not paying attention to it. I might leave it in the car as I go about the day, or I'm not really addicted to it. And when I'm disconnected from that awareness, and I'm in pushing, driving, like needing to make things happen instead of allowing, or I'm really disconnected and I truly forgot that I'm here as a being of light, and my meaning, my purpose, all that is kind of behind me, and I don't know why, but I can't access it, and that happens sometimes. That's when I go to the phone, and it's almost like a self-soothing device. It's almost as a numbing, because I don't find the connection within. I go look for it there, and of course there's so much to get lost in there. So I'm not against the phones. Phones are great. They're a huge vehicle of communication and transfer of information, and noticing that when I'm fully living life, I don't need to post much. I don't need to check in anybody else's posts. I'm in it. So I love that you made a connection between your anxiety and the phone. It could be also the EMFs. Depends on your sensitivity, though we are all adapting to that. I don't propose that we have to continue, giving into fear that a lot of radiation, unless you have it on your chest, right? If you have radiation on your chest all the time, but if we are in proximity with it, we don't have it in our bodies. On our bodies, I think it's more the exposure that you get when you're latched onto it as well, right? Okay, what else? Thank you. Okay. Oh, thank you, Richard. This is awesome. I appreciate your comment. Yeah. Take advantage if you want to explore more of that, and look at my website on the teachers page and book a free consultation. Yeah, I've been doing those more and more, and I find a great honor to be able to support people this way. Otherwise, if you don't feel ready for a one-on-one or want to have more time to go deeper together, you are free to also join every live session or any that calls you, or look at my audio tracks. My work itself is evolving, because we're always evolving, right? And I used to mainly focus on the physical body, pain, anxiety, and more allowing my own interest in spirituality, which has been great for the last 27 years. It's been very present for me. I'm allowing it more and more to emerge into my work. to let people know more about these practices that I thought they were just for personal use. And everything is now merging in a beautiful way, because I notice it frees me up to be my full authentic self and share absolutely everything from my core. And the practices are solid and they work. So we're energizing our body, we are grounding that energy in the body, we're connecting to source, and source could be your God faith, could be your angelic presence, could be ancestral support. So we're accessing all that, and it's something that I've been doing by myself for a long time, or with my kids or my friends, and now I'm fully sharing it. So if that serves you, I would absolutely be honored to help you, for sure. I will keep doing work with emotions because, believe it or not, as challenging as it may seem, is the quickest catalyst. In the same way that working with the physical body for me has been great, and I've helped a lot of people over the last over 10 years, it's very dense. It's very heavy, right? It's matter, it's this expression of matter, but we are 99.9% space. So as I tune into more of the energetic work, and I learn and I practice how to channel more of that, or transmit or integrate, ground more of that, I notice faster changes in myself and in my clients, because energy is faster, moves faster than the body. When we get to integrate both, we have this fast upgrading, I will almost like, how can I say it, uplifting, right, process, which is that energetic electrical content grounded in the physical vessel, so you don't necessarily spin out or have headaches or ringing in your ears or digestive issues from all that energy that it's moving now, it's flowing, but it doesn't have a place to ground through. And that could be your physical body. And I be honest with you, it's interesting to see how it filters in the dreams, even without intentionally working with it, because our lives are interconnected. So the more that you are able to accept, believe, and surrender to a practice, the more you will see that it weaves into your day life, awake life, sleep life, and daydreaming, and also how your dreams and wishes and desires become reality. So then the dream life is manifesting in your 3D reality of every day, and so forth. It becomes a very fun adventure. I want to emphasize that. I would love to invite you to make it fun and light and playful, and bring in some of the qualities of your inner child. And if along the way you find your inner child wounded or experiencing certain emotions that are holding them into that, small hiding place, which we all experience at some point, that's another great place to take us for some healing, because it's from that playful innocence that we can access more and more love. And the other pieces are more sometimes small or contracted or untrusting, not so innocent, right? So we're kind of giving ourselves, making us a disservice, this service. Yeah, we are shortcutting ourselves, or selling ourselves short of what we can truly become in our potential, which will come from that irreverence, from that playfulness. I've been calling it delusional positivity. Who likes that term? Because we all see things and we go, that's crazy. And we tend to just sometimes emphasize how crazy things are, and it's negative. It's with a negative connotation, right? That can't be, that's crazy. Or did you see this just happened? This is crazy. Oh, that's delusional. And I'm thinking, yeah, let's use that, but for positive. So as I hear and feel all these complaints about everything, I'm going to be the delusional one, just positively holding space for the greatest outcome. And I see who else is with me. And the same way that when one person is crazy, but then 2, 3, 10, 100, then you go, well, something must be happening, because it couldn't be that so many people believe that. So in the same way, you might be first feeling very isolated with these practices and these beliefs that you have, but then you realize, oh, I'm not alone. Right now, we're 100 people right here, and we're all holding on, right? There's something here that we feel is true, or at the very least, we're curious about. So then you realize, well, I'm not alone in this. I'm not the only crazy one. And if I am, then let me be delusionally positive. Let me be crazy positive, crazy innocent, crazy loving, and bring that to the world, because the world really needs it. Some people need it because they're trapped in the victim state. Some people need it because they feel alone, and they're already waking up to this, but they feel very isolated. And some people cannot believe that this is possible. How can so much love be possible? How can I have love for the person that betrayed me? Well, read the Bible. It's in the Bible. Read the ancient Buddhist text, Taoist text, and it's all over. No matter which religion, which philosophy, there's a common thread, and the common thread is love. It's my language. Love is the nature of the universe. Well, love is such a charged word. What do you mean? Romantic love? Do you mean the love I have for my children? The love I have for myself, that some days I have, some days I lose? Which love are you talking about? The love I have for my deities? Well, it's one and the same. It's that warmth that you feel when you connect to the last time you did something without expecting anything in return. You just did because it was pouring out of you, because you didn't know not to. Remember the parable of the rose that just opens and releases its scent because it can, not because it's expecting anybody to say, oh, what a beautiful rose. Oh, let me cut this rose and take it home. Just because I can, right? Because why not? So that, I think, is where this comes from. It could be experienced, of course, as understanding, joy, peace, acceptance, but in the best possible scenario is this awareness that we're all here at some point in our journey to experience that we don't even have words for it, right? Is that awareness. Yeah. Thank you, Jane, for your donation, which reminds me to ask for donations. Thank you so much. If you can, that would be awesome. Anything helps. The donations, just so you know, get split between me, the Insight Timer app, and the Apple Store. So you're supporting 3, not just 1. And it's the way that we teachers make some income out of these live sessions, because they're volunteered otherwise. So if you can, that would be amazing. And if you can't right now, but later, that's great too. You can go to my page. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. We were a little bit all over, right? We expanded our container of lucid dreaming into much more, thanks to the kind shares of everybody in the chat. But that was my intention when I started, that it becomes a conversation. So thank you for that. A couple more things. If you haven't checked my page, please do. You can follow. When you follow, you get pings when I book a new event, so it's easy to keep track and to join. You can also look at all the free audio tracks there. I have a lot of them that you can experience, and I will be adding more with these new practices I'm stepping out into, so that would be nice and fun. And you can also share with friends. I am doing also live events in Spanish, so you can share that, and you can bring a friend to the live. And I think it could be a fun new experience if you want to connect with a friend that you haven't been able to see in person, or maybe you live in different parts of the world, and you can say, let's go to this live together. And I've seen that happen in the chat when people know each other and they say hello, and then you're sharing this experience, which is my favorite way for you to support me, which is to share by doing. So whatever you received today, that you felt true for you, that you resonated with, practice it, and share it. And that is tenfold, because you will practice it, so you will feel the benefits. As you share it, you will know more of it, and you will answer questions, and you will get into it with more of your own personal experience. And also you will be creating more of this impact that I seek to create, which is that we all continue to add our drops here. If we were grains of sand and this was a jar, and each grain of sand will sooner or later fill the jar, right? So with your practice and your share, we keep expanding into it, and we're more and more souls connected to the same frequency, that frequency of love and oneness. Yeah. Wonderful. Thank you so much, everybody. If you want to put something else in the chat right now before we go, that would be awesome. Much appreciated. I thank you, all of you, for your participation, for staying. Those of you that came in late, I'm sorry if you missed some of the beginning, but next time, come on time. I start on time unless of an emergency, and I like to not go too far after the projected time, so we can all adjust accordingly and know that we'll be here for an hour, but not too much longer than that. Thank you so much. Yep, that is what I do. Yeah. In the process, we find how can we make it easier for us to access that love capacity. So right now I'm about to do more lives to expand our capacity to access more energy and ground it, so we can really fully move into the world from it, right? So we don't move from fear, from doubt, from half-hearted, but we move fully from awareness, empowerment, and embodiment of that love. That's what I'm doing. Thank you, Karen. Come back. Follow the page and come back so we can stay connected. Yeah. Last but not least, if in the process you thought of something that you would like more of, say you felt a request or a question and you didn't feel like sharing it in the chat because it's public, totally understand you. There's a message button on my page. You can send me a note and I respond. And I also take in your requests and I create lives or integrate your needs and requests into the lives. Okay? My intention here is of service. If you find that button off, you can also send me an email or a text message. All that info is on my website, which is my name, and is also in my teacher's page. So everything is there. I'm on Facebook, on TikTok, and some other places with the same name. My name and my chosen middle name, Breathe. So I know you can find me. You just have to do the homework because they don't let us promote. So I'm not promoting. You just have to find it. And that is if you want to connect personally, okay? Otherwise, just come back to the lives and we'll stay here in community. I want to, all together, if we can, close this portal that we open. So I thank you for your participation. I thank the support of all our spirit guides and ancestors, everybody's higher self, my own. Thank you for your presence, guidance, and support. And may we take this practice now with us and send it also to who needs it the most as we go about our day and our weekend and into next week. All right? My beautiful friends, I send you off with a lot of love. Be well, keep shining, and come back. Have sweet dreams and practice, okay? Let me know how it goes. I have the next Lucid Dream session booked for next month, so we can reconvene, catch up, find out what happened, what are the questions, and how else I can support you and serve you, okay? All right. Much love. Good to see you. Until next time. Bye-bye.